You peeped.
Okay, I think we'll go ahead and start with reciting Namo Tassa and Three Refuges for those who like. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Dutiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Tatiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. So welcome, friends, to this Sunday afternoon Dhamma session. And today I'm continuing to look at some of the Dhammapada verses. And we're now in chapter 2, the Appamada Vagga, the chapter on heedfulness, or sometimes called the mindfulness. I mean, heedful and alert and awake, especially in terms of the Dhamma. So this is this verse. We've gotten up to verse number 8. I'm not going over every verse. I'm skipping a few of them that may be not so much connected with the Dhamma, or exactly. I mean, they're all connected with the Dhamma, but anyway, so I'm going to chant the Pali of this verse number 8. If you have your own Dhammapada with you, chapter 2, verse number 8. So I'm going to chant the Pali and then the English meaning. Pamadam appamadena yada nudati pandito panya pasadamaruya asoko sokinim pajam pabatato abumati diro bale avekati. So when an understanding person discards heedlessness by heedfulness, he or she, free from sorrow, ascends to the palace of wisdom and surveys the sorrowing folk as a wise mountaineer surveys the ignorant groundlings. So this is actually kind of one of my, you could say, favorite verses. And it basically means when one gains insight, especially when one discards heedlessness by heedfulness. That means by developing mindfulness and concentration, and weakening the hindrances by being heedful, mindful, and alert, discarding the hindrances. Then free from sorrow, ascends to the palace of wisdom. So ascending the palace of wisdom could mean two different ways: by developing the jhanas, ascending from ordinary concentration to access concentration, ascending to the first jhana, ascending to second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, and so on. Or ascending with insights. It means gaining gradual insights into impermanence, suffering, and no self, and ascending the stages of liberation, ascending from the ordinary person stage to a Dhamma striver, to that of a Sotapanna, and once returner, never returner, and Arahant. So those can be two different ways of seeing that phrase of ascending the palace of wisdom. And then surveying the sorrowing folk as a wise mountaineer surveys the ignorant groundlings. So when a person gets some deep insight into especially dukkha, but because of they get insight into anicca and dukkha, they see how the suffering, people are caught in that web of suffering. And then they're sorrowing, that most of people's sorrows and problems come as a result of their own unskillful actions done out of ignorance. So that's the meaning of the ignorant worldling or groundling, stuck on the earth plane consciousness and stuck in the web of karma and keep on repeating the same habits of body, speech, and mind that keep their mind in a very low level of awareness. So, and that's true when you, and ascending the palace of wisdom could be, like I tried to get you to in the guided meditations, to ascend through the body to gain that detached awareness. So you could say in one level, ascending, you're starting from feeling your feet on the earth, and then going up to feel your legs and your hands and arms, and up to feel the head and the different sensations in the head, and then you kind of pull back and you try to establish that whole body awareness, kind of, as I've mentioned several times, like sitting in a balcony seat in the theater, kind of just watching the movie of your body and mind going on. And just having that onlooking awareness to your body and mind, just in the five aggregates, just sort of tripping out, and seeing how the body is squirming around because of pains and reacting to various stimuli, or going back to get lost in so many thoughts. And you just see that as a state of suffering. I mean, because of your own experience, of course, that you've understood that you can even observe yourself as you find yourself still caught up in that. But you extrapolate that to understand how all beings are just running around like, just robots, or running around like, some people like mad dogs, just going around biting and barking and rummaging in trash cans. That means their mind's just getting caught into all kind of unskillful thoughts, speech, and actions that bring their results. So that's kind of the meaning of it. When you're sitting in that insight, and of course, having got the insight for yourself, you can easily then understand that all beings are the same way. And especially when you gain that real detached awareness and you really have a deep insight into the nature of the illusion of the ego, you can see how all these beings, they're just caught and trapped in blindness, you know. And so that also arouses a compassion. But anyway, so that's the meaning of it when we, you know, we've discarded our old past habits, or at least a lot of them, by practicing sila and developing our meditation practice, being able to detach from our five aggregates and to just observe them with insight. That's the meaning of this ascending the palace of wisdom. That means it's within your own mind. And there's a story that goes with this. And it says that the Venerable Mahakassapa, who was an arhat and who had a lot of psychic powers too, and he could remember his past lives, and to some extent he was trying to see how other people were being born and dying according to their karma. And so the Buddha saw that Moggallana was trying to develop this psychic power of watching how people are born and dying according to their karma. And then the Buddha told him that really only a Buddha could really clearly comprehend the totality of people's past lives and the karma that got them to experience, you know, the various types of suffering and so on. So, of course, if one had the ability to, you know, see how people were being, you know, how they lived and then how they died and how they were reborn according to their karma, then, you know, that would be a very deep level of wisdom. But most people are not going to be able to develop that kind of psychic power. But even just watching ourselves, right, in the first 25, 30, 40 years of our life, when we were even more caught in ignorance than perhaps you are now, and before you started practicing, you know, well, precepts and especially meditation, you know, you could see that within yourself and how you've changed over the years using Dhamma. So in the same way, we can just see that, and others too, maybe some people in your family, you could see how people in your family who, you know, were not interested in meditation or got caught up in all kind of, you know, unwholesome things and got the painful consequences of their experiences. So you can understand that is in the same way, even within one lifetime, one sees how a person is evolving or degenerating into worse situations that they were before, or using the Dhamma, lifting themselves out of that. So now again, if any questions come up, you know, going over some of these suttas, please, you can write them down as questions on the chat. But otherwise, there's a couple of other suttas in this chapter that we can also go over, which are related to this. So we covered verse number 8. And then number 9, this next verse, again I'll recite the Pali. Apamato pamatesu sutesu bahujagaro Balasambasigaso hitvayati sumedasu. So the translation of that is heedful amongst the heedless, wide awake amongst the sleeping. The wise man advances as does a swift horse, leaving a weak horse behind. So, from the Dhamma point of view, most people who've not, who don't understand the Dhamma, people are just caught up in their habits and, don't understand much about the Dhamma, have no interest in anything you could call spiritual life. Then, and just caught in their habits, these said to be people who are like slumbering. Even though they're awake, they're asleep from the Dhamma point of view. That means they're asleep to the higher wisdom, the higher awareness. And so the person that's practicing the heedful, they advance along the path where many others, actually go downward on the path. That means getting themselves deeper sunk in greed, hatred, and delusion and the web of karmic suffering. And the story behind that is that two monks went to a forest to meditate. And one was strenuous and practiced, meditating in the 3 watches of the night and, sleeping, by a minimum of 2 to 4 hours. And the other one might have overslept and, overate and didn't practice much meditation. So one was strenuous and the other not. And one attained stages of enlightenment and the other one died still as a worldling. And we can see that even maybe in our own families, not to make judgments and so on, but within one family, one person could become very interested in Dhamma and meditate and, kind of really change their life. But other people in the family might just remain in a status quo or even, get caught up in more type of unhealthy type of habits or just anyway, not ever really kind of evolving their consciousness. And there's another similar verse, number 11. That I'll recite in Pali again. Apamadarato bhikkhu pamade bayadasiva sanyojanam manum tulam dahamagiva gacchati. The person who delights in heedfulness and looks with fear on heedlessness advances like fire, burning all fetters great and small. So this is similar to the verse we just read, but it's using the simile of a fire. We've seen all these videos and stories of fires rampaging in the United States, in the West, and places, burning up everything in its wake, spreading very fast. So same way with our the practice of the Dhamma, we advance along the path steady but surely, burning up the fetters, those 10 fetters, by attaining the 4 stages, the paths and fruits of those 4 stages. You destroy the 10 fetters, different fetters with each stage. And the story on this one was that there was a monk who was failing in meditation in the forest. So the monk had gone to the forest to meditate, but he wasn't getting good results. So he came to see the Buddha. And on the way, he saw a forest fire advancing, burning all things great and small. So this sight induced this person to think that he too should be heedful and advance, burning all of the fetters great and small by the fire of the Noble Eightfold Path. And the Buddha read his thoughts, and radiating a ray of light advised him accordingly. Yes, following the Eightfold Path, advanced like the fire burning up the defilements of greed, hatred, and delusion. Now this, I'm going to just read one last sutta, verse in this chapter number 2. This is similar again, but all of them have a slightly different, focus. Apamadarato bhikkhu pamade bayadasiva ababbo parihanaya nibbana seva santiki. Meditator who delights in heedfulness and looks with fear on heedlessness is not liable to fall. They are in the presence of Nibbana. So, I'm just going to read the story about this also. So there was a monk who was frugal and contented. And the Buddha attributed those characteristics to the monk's close association with the Buddha in the past, and remarked that the monks of his type were already in the presence of Nibbana. So that means they weren't, they had reached the lower stages of Sotapanna, and once returning, never returning, even though they weren't fully in Nibbana all the time, but they were in the presence of that by constantly having the Dhamma in their minds and seeing the fear and the negligence, and knowing that even small bits of negligence, if not paid attention to, can gradually grow and erode one's Dhamma practice. So, it's all about, the practice of Dhamma is seen in these verses, is all about making the right effort. That, there's some people that think that just by, you don't have to make much effort if you just keep meditating and but without really putting forth the right effort to overcome the defilements, that eventually you'll get liberated. Well, maybe so, but it may be a long time in coming. And in the meantime, you have to undergo lots of suffering in the meantime. So the right effort is again one of these mental qualities that's mentioned over and over again in the 5 spiritual faculties, in the Noble Eightfold Path, and in the, in other places, it's, the 5 spiritual powers and so on. The right effort is, that it takes an effort to overcome the defilement. So that effort is part of the heedfulness, being heedful, and then applying the effort when unwholesome states come into your mind, to be heedful or mindful of that, and then apply the right effort to, replace it with its wholesome opposite. So, so those are the verses that I want to share with you today. Now, if anybody has any questions on any of those, so we'll look at the chats and see. So this one question: what can we do for others in our family who suffer and aren't interested in practicing? I listen and try to be a sort of role model, but not sure if there is more that I could do than that, and be patient. Well, it's true. Everybody is at a different level in their, let's say, evolution. Their evolution means the path toward liberation from suffering, whether they know it or not, but still. But some people devolve, others evolve, and others just sort of maintain a kind of a middle, not evolving and not devolving, but simply, keep repeating the rounds of birth and death over and over again, and the suffering. So, and that's all due to, karmic conditioning. So it's usually true that one person, maybe 2 in a family, but usually just one person in a family of 4 or 5 or more, may become interested in the Dhamma. Now, especially people born in countries like the Western countries, like Europe or America and Canada, where Dhamma was not part of the culture, at least 40, 50 years ago. But for some reason or other, one family member, got interested, and the others didn't. And the person who did get interested, improved the quality of their life, were able to overcome certain unskillful habits, with the practice of meditation just giving them more inward peace and clarity in their life, and learning how to be, those wholesome qualities. And so naturally we like to tell others about it. But, some are not ready to listen. So the best way is to set a good example. And, the best advertisement for Dhamma is in when people see that you've changed for, let's say, the better by practicing the Dhamma. They say, well, why are you meditating? What benefit you get out of meditation? You say, well, I don't get angry so much, and, don't let things bother me so much, stuff like that, on a very simple level. But if they see that you're meditating, but you're still indulging in, compulsive behaviors or getting obsessed with certain types of things and so on, or they're going to say, well, what benefit are you getting from this meditation? But also if you appear too proud and conceited, like, oh, I practice Dhamma, and you people, you're sinners. Well, that also, as we know, is not very helpful. So even being proud or about your being more spiritual advanced than others is also a kind of a defilement, we feel lucky that we are able to do it, but we shouldn't feel pride and look down on others because they cannot. We understand how everybody is different, and not everybody has the right conditions to be able to make the progress. Even though we love them very much, and we feel powerless and helpless. Now we could put out some Dhamma books, for example, on a living room table, or send them an email or something, or once in a while, probe them a little bit and see. Now that Dhamma is becoming more widespread and known about, some gradually, they might become gradually interested in maybe first trying to maybe be vegetarian. Some people like to stick one toe in the water first by trying something simple. And then if they see some benefit from that, then they might want to try something else. And meditation is a daunting challenge for a lot of people. But in fact, now I'm starting a series of meditation classes for beginners, because there's been some people who came to our days of mindfulness or our afternoon intensives. Oh, I can't meditate so long. I tried it and I got all kind of pains, and they get a little scared. If you try to make them sit for even 30 minutes at the first time for a total beginner is like, quite long. And so I'm having some classes where I'm having shorter and guided meditations and doing some yoga and trying to get some of these people that haven't really, developed a practice of meditation to get them interested little by little, and then as to train them gradually. And then hopefully, as they get the benefits of that, they'll naturally want to do it a little bit more. So I know sometimes, it's, even myself, I've been a monk for so long, but, some of the people I knew, even from my still high school days, and I know the various things that I've, just by knowing what I do, and they've come and practiced a little bit meditation, but, not really getting into it very seriously. And, I haven't tried to push them too hard, because I know that, each person has to be ready and gradually open up at their own speed. And, so it can be, kind of frustrating. But, basically we have to understand, okay, I was fortunate, or anybody, that who's gotten into Dhamma, that you've had a good fortune to have in the past cultivated the right conditions, and for that reason you're interested in it now. But knowing that everybody's not at that way, and they'll come to it eventually, hopefully. And if we can help them in some way, we can. Naturally, we try it. But some people, you shouldn't try to bend over backwards to try to help people if they're constantly like rejecting you and so on, or saying, "Oh, leave me alone! Don't talk this spiritual mumbo jumbo," or whatever. There's some really negative attitudes toward to spiritual practice out there in the world. So, but it's difficult for people. This next one, the recent Dhammapada Sutta you read mentioned the Eightfold Path. How does one practice the path? Sequentially, and in which order? Are they to be practiced simultaneously? Which seems a little daunting. Well, in the beginning, when you have no understanding of the Dhamma, the first is right understanding. So you should read a little bit about that, and especially about the law of karma. So when you get an intellectual understanding about how your actions have results, and then, any, aware person or any normal person can know that, yeah, they get the result of their actions, and they've gotten in trouble because of their greed or their bad speech or intoxicating. It doesn't take a wise person to see how we suffer. And then some person will say, yeah, I'm caught in these habits. And then you say, well, and then what are the habits? Right speech. You gotta try not to use these bad words and slander other people, tell lies, and they can see, okay, yeah, I know. And so little by little they'll practice the sila. So it's a right understanding, and then the right thoughts. Really, the Noble Eightfold Path was given in that order because it's a step-by-step progress. You can't just immediately start practicing mindfulness without some kind of understanding about it, or otherwise it becomes wrong mindfulness. So, or wrong concentration. So anyway, but it doesn't mean you have to practice one thing for a year and then wait to another. No, but you gain some right understanding, and then naturally you'll start thinking about it. And then because the understanding is about the law of karma, naturally you start practicing then right speech, right action, right livelihood, and then meditating. And you can meditate at the start at the same time too. And with the mindfulness, you will see, it starts with mindfulness, not concentration. Don't worry about concentrating. You got to practice mindfulness and use the understanding along with mindfulness, which is meditation too, in order to at least try to not get lost in your thoughts so much. And then naturally you'll get concentrated. And then practicing the right effort. So yes, the Eightfold Path, ideally, in the beginning, one has to understand how each one leads to another, but as you practice, you become practicing all of them basically almost at the same time. And each one helps to support the other one. So, they're all interconnected, but in a linear sequence, we can see that each one's a stepping stone to the next. But even when we reach the next, we're still practicing the ones underneath it at a higher level, at a more pure level, you might say. So yeah, the practice of Dhamma, it's like going into the water. If you go down to the ocean, the shore, it's, maybe when the water's cool, you put your toe in and that feels cool, and you pull it out, but then you stick it in again, you keep it in for a couple more seconds, and gradually get used to that. And then you can stick the rest of your foot in there. And then you gradually go up to your knees, and up to your waist. And as the body gets used to that kind of temperature, you don't notice it so much, right? You're getting used to it. And gradually you can go out and even up to your neck, and you won't have that strong negative reaction. You kind of get used to it. So the same way in the practice of the Dhamma. Can you please reflect on the need for a teacher? What about going to the Buddha? I have heard that those who press buttons can be considered as a teacher. Well, some people will need a teacher, and some may not need a teacher so much. That depends on each person also. So, but teachers mainly just point the way. Each person has got to practice for themselves. But those who are not able to get that discipline, or maybe can't remember things very well, then they may need to rely more upon a teacher. That means like coming back to hear more and more talks, get guided meditation, so on, because it might take them a little bit longer to kind of get it, right? So, but Some people can get it quite quickly, as we read about in so many suttas. Just hearing one or two Dhamma talks from the Buddha, people were attaining the various stages of enlightenment. But others who listen to Dhamma talks their whole life and still never attained even the first stage. So anyway, but it's always good to have a Kalyana Mitta. At least it's somebody that you can regard as a spiritual friend that you could at least come and talk with from time to time, especially if one is living by oneself and there's no one to talk to much. It's always good to have a Dhamma friend to have some Dhamma discussions with and to help mutually support each other, or to come to some kind of classes and or somebody considered to be a teacher. And if they're helping you to maintain a kind of inspiration in the Dhamma and stimulate you to try to keep your practice going, then of course you can use that. But each person is different in that. But of course, going to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, the Buddha, of course, being a teacher, the Buddha is the Dhamma, so it's difficult to, the Buddha as being our teacher, because the Dhamma is the Buddha. The Buddha even said that himself. One who sees the Dhamma sees the Buddha. The Buddha is not the body. Really, the Buddha is simply an embodiment of that deep wisdom. So it's the Dhamma that we should take as our teacher. By learning the Dhamma, whether you're reading the suttas and developing a good theoretical understanding of the teachings, and then practicing meditation, lighting the lamp of wisdom awareness within yourself. That is your teacher. Once you develop mindfulness, mindfulness teaches you. When you become mindful of the mind and mindful of the insights and the various things that are going on in the mind, that is what's teaching you. That's the subtler Dhamma, the inner Dhamma. So we read these suttas, these Dhammapada verses. This is the external Dhamma. But when you sit to meditate and then you start to understand your own mind, that is the inner Dhamma teaching you. That is what teaching you. You can say, yes, there is this greed, there's this pride, there's this conceit, there's this anger. I got to get, and it causes me suffering. I need to, start weakening that, transcending that. And you do that by following the Eightfold Path. So really, that's one's teacher. Now, the external teachers can be there to act as a touchstone and meet from time to time. But once you've awakened the Dhamma within the mind, it kind of goes on by itself, especially when you enter the stream. That's why it's called entering the stream. Once you attain Sotapanna, the Dhamma starts working on its own, and all you have to do is steer the boat. Keep it from getting snagged up on something, but the current is moving the boat down the stream. So that's how it, how we have to, understand that. There's something on my screen that's preventing my, I'm sorry, people. If anybody you can hear me out there, I've lost my connection because of these advertisements that come up on the screen now. How do I get myself back? Let me see.
Bhante?
Yeah.
I think you can, if you go to the left.
Okay, I think I'm back on now.
Okay.
Can people see me now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
You know, you get these things that pop on your screen and they cover over what you were trying to read, right? And then
I know.
you try to get rid of them, and then you click something, and then it causes things like that.
It's very
Okay.
annoying.
Now, come back to the thing about the teacher, this last part of this question that I was reading. Somebody is saying, I also heard that a teacher is only required at advanced stages of the path. Now, it's true that when you start getting deeper insights and gaining deeper concentration, you could get distracted by the byproducts of meditation and thinking that you're attained a level that perhaps you haven't, or get deluded in some other way, or start to want to, you know, I want to be able to read somebody's mind or something else, and you kind of get distracted. So a teacher might be able to detect when the mind is getting a little bit off the track, and hopefully, you know, give you some advice or encouragement, you know, to kind of get back on the right track. So in that way, a teacher may be, you know, useful. Another question, why does one regress? Is there still hope for a regressor to regain walking on the path? Absolutely. You know, there's a lot of people, they started Dhamma practice and they, you know, they do it for a while, but for some reason, there's some kind of big karmic block that comes up, and for all their good intentions and efforts, they're not able to overcome certain, well, we'll call them karmic blocks, because basically that's kind of what they are. Nothing arises without a cause, right? So, and that cause is in our past somehow. But you know, they'll also, you know, if you don't totally forget the Dhamma and you try to practice, even though you might not be making much progress as you hope, at some point those blocks would also eventually dissolve. We can never predict when they might, but the main thing is not to give up. So, you know, you could see that in terms of the, you know, the saying about the dark night of the soul, right? So, you know, people lose, you know, they get, you know, to a very kind of dark place in their mind, and they lost all direction, but again, that's also impermanent, and we have to know that deep down underneath all of that mental darkness and confusion, there is the light at the end of the tunnel, because remember, before you had that you were making progress on the path. And then maybe you know, according to you've regressed, but it's, you know, karma is so deep, and we can't, like, really, the average person cannot really see these blocks and know what they are, and no telling how long it could last otherwise too. And but you know, there are stories of people, even Sotapanna could take 7 lifetimes to eventually reach enlightenment. So even somebody like a Sotapanna could hit some you know, mental block that caused him to not be able to make much progress for, you know, a couple more lifetimes even before they might reach a second stage. So you can see from these kind of examples that, you know, it's, you know, the mind is very mysterious, and we can't, the only thing we can do is just keep trying as best we can, and not to get, you know, discouraged, or at least too discouraged. For the Dhamma practitioner who is in the last days of dying on the bed, are there any advice, such as reciting over the Dhamma suttas and reflecting on his or her good deeds. Our prayers and dedication of merits from friends, family, or monastics helping. Well, somebody who's a Dharma practitioner in the last days of dying, it depends on what stage of Dhamma practicing you've reached. Now, if you were fairly good at meditation and you were able to have a good level of mindfulness and so on, then of course, this impending death could, goad the mind or give inspiration for really trying to maintain that mindfulness. But yes, recalling suttas, because the last thoughts in our mind or the vibration of our mind just before death is going to be a strong determinant in where the mind would be attracted to, to the next life. So if there's more Dhamma in your mind and less negative thoughts, then there's a very good chance that these Dhamma thoughts will be there at the moment you die and guide the mind, consciousness, to the next life, where as a human or as a deva or where you would hopefully be able to pick up that Dhamma understanding from the next life. But if your mind latches on to negative thoughts, then it can be taken the other way. So, you could say a whole life should be a preparation for death. Not that we're scared of that, but death can happen at any time. So we don't have the luxury to think I'm going to even live for another year or two or three, because we've seen examples where people are dead within a day, the next day, or several days or week afterward. So reciting the suttas, if you don't have meditation practice, then reciting suttas. Or if you don't know any sutras, you have monks come and chant the sutras. If you learn those in chanting, that's a tradition in Sri Lanka. They invite monks to the hospital to chant the Metta Sutta and other sutras. Hopefully will stimulate this person's mind. Oh yes, I remember hearing that when I was younger. It caused him to, get out of his negative thoughts or her negative thoughts. So yes, remembering the Sila Nusati, remembering the good deeds you done. You remember when you gave, like there's several suttas where a person gave an arhat, just, a small piece of bread or a banana, and he remembered that before dying, and he was reborn in a Devaloka. So remembering your good deeds. So that's why collecting merit is important. If we don't have any good deeds to do, then we don't have a lot to think about. And if we've done a lot of bad, unskillful things, and we have a lot to combat as these negative memories try to push up. Because when you die, you see, the mind loses its attention to the external world. Then you got the whole weight, the whole depth of the unconscious mind, it says, comes rushing up. And whatever the strongest memories are, then that is what the mind is going to grasp a hold of. And that's why if there are negative memories, then, the mind is going to, get pulled in a, unwholesome direction. But if there are memories about the Dhamma and, or, meditation, insights and so on, then these are hopefully will take precedent and, as I said, guide you onwards. In the path of Dhamma. In our prayers and dedication of merits from friends or monastics helping. So it's it's also a tradition that monks will go and chant these sutras, as I already mentioned, in the hospitals for people that are sick or dying, or come to their homes, chanting merit in just general and collecting merit. Now all these things may have some benefit, But in the end, it's going to be how much you've progressed in the Dhamma. And the Dhamma understanding and the vibration of your consciousness that you've been able to cultivate and evolve into over the course of your practice. That's going to be the most important thing, rather than expecting somebody else to be chanting something to you. Now, if you're unconscious, of course, monks do, chant to unconscious people, because the unconscious person might be able to hear. And if they heard these things of Dhamma that they've heard before, that could help to, as I already mentioned, keep the mind awake, or, in a more wholesome thoughts. Is there a significance in the order of reciting Pansil? In other words, why abstain from killing becomes abstain from telling lies? Because killing probably would have a stronger karmic effect than telling a lie. Let's say if you murdered somebody, with intention, as opposed to telling a lie about, no, I didn't sleep with this person or that person, or I didn't cheat on my income tax or whatever, tell a kind of a lie, or maybe you told a lie out of some compassion to kind of keep somebody else from getting found out, is a common example about police come to your house. Did you see a thief run this way or that way? Maybe you saw him, but you say, no, I didn't see him. Okay. You told a lie. You may get caught and some punishment, but that's certainly going to be less than having killed somebody. So anyway, killing is probably the strongest karmic effect from that. And then the telling of lies and sexual misconduct, but it depends on the degree of that. Any one. Look at intoxication. If you get intoxicated and you go out and you run over several people with your car, or maim them, that's going to also be a strong memory in your mind, more than having being promiscuous or whatever. So there's no, it's a general kind of gradation. But but all of them bring the karmic effects, depending on the degree and the habituation that you did that. You might have killed a person by accident one time in your life, but you might have told hundreds and thousands of lies. You might have slandered and told tales about other people many, many hundreds of times, or gone out and violated your wedding vows many times. That's going to be more on your mind perhaps than that, but there's no way to tell. Anyway, so okay, so it looks like we're at the end of those questions, and it's also getting near the end of our hour, so we want to I know it's late for some of you living in Europe, or even some other places. So we'll take a short break now, and come back in a few minutes, do a few stretches, and then have our guided meditation. Okay? Okay, friends, so let's get ready for our do some few stretches to get the energy moving in the body, to get focus the attention into the present moment. Just stand straight. Just relax the shoulders, the arms at the sides. Feel your feet pressing the floor. And feel the height and weight of the body over the feet. Or mentally feel that outline of the standing body. And then begin some three-part breathing, the deep, slow breathing, drawing the air from the lower lungs up through the middle, up and feel the expansion in the upper chest. Hold the air in for 2 or 3 seconds and slowly breathe out, feeling the last bit of air go out of the lungs, and then the next in-breath. Just thinking like this to yourself, just breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Now on the next in-breath, raise the arms over the head, interlock the fingers, turn the palms up, straighten the arms, stretch the head back, bend the lower back a little bit. On the out-breath, turn the palms downward, touch the top of the head. And in-breath, palms up, straighten the arms, head back, bend backward. Out breath, touch the head. Once more in. Now hold that upward stretch longer. Feel the sensations. You release your fingers and the out breath, arms back to the sides. Relax. Gently close the eyes. Feel your feet pressing the floor. Don't give the mind time to wander into thoughts. So always keep it anchored to the body. Try to feel the outline of the standing body. Just remember standing, standing, standing. Just feeling the sensations generated by the exercise and breathing. And the next in-breath, push up on the toes and raising the arms over the head in this way, facing the hands toward each other and stretch up. In the out breath, come back down, arms to the side, heels to the floor. Use the breath to help lift and lower the body. In breath, rising up. Stretch. Out. Now, spread your feet apart about 3 feet. I know you can't see my legs, but about 3 feet apart. We'll do an exercise to stretch the muscles and the ligaments of the hips, knees. Hands at the chest, in breath. Raise the hands over the head. On an out breath, lower the hands to the chest and bend your knees and lower the body down. Try to keep your torso upright. Come down as far as you comfortably can. And the in-breath, lift all the way back up. Hands over the head. Again, out breath, lower down. In. Out. In. The out breath, arms back to the sides. Relax. Let's close the eyes. Feel the increased heartbeat, pulsations, other sensations. Feel the touch of the clothing against the skin, your arms and chest. Just remember standing, 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 present moment of the body. Getting the mind centered and grounded in the body. First level of awareness, deeper awareness. Now we're going to do forward and backward bending. Still keeping the legs apart. Let the hands touch the front of your legs. And breathe in. On an out breath, bend forward. Let the hands slide down to your knees the first time. Keep the head up, looking out straight ahead. And try to flatten the spine, making it like a tabletop. The legs straight. On the in-breath, lift up. Move the hands up under the buttocks for support. Let the head go back on the out-breath. Gently bend backwards, not too far the first time. Keep the eyes open. The in-breath, carefully lift up. And again, out-breath, second time, let the hands come below the knees, about halfway if you can. Still keep the head up, legs straight. Feel the stretch in the back of the legs. In-breath up. Again, the back bend, try to bend back a little more. In-breath, lift up. And on the third time, let the hands come down as far as you can towards your feet. And hold that position longer, feeling the stretch in the hamstring muscles in the back of your thighs. Feel no sensation, it's not too painful. breath, lift back up. And one more time, the back bending, out breath. Careful. In breath, lift up. And the out breath, just relax. Feel the whole body. Start to feel that increased aliveness in the body. Subtle pulsation. Little aches or pain. Just remember standing, standing, standing. If you haven't already, bring your legs and feet closer together. We'll do one last exercise, the head turning from right to left. So on an in-breath, turn your head to the right. Look over your right shoulder. Turn your eyes to the right. Look at some object behind you. In the out breath, turn 180 degrees back to the left. Look over the left shoulder. Turn your eyes to the left. In breath back to the right. Concentrate into the neck vertebrae. If you have a stiff neck, just be careful. Out breath to the left. Once more to each side. In breath. Out. The in breath, let the head stop in the center. Just keep the eyes gently closed. Just feel the whole body. Touch of the clothing on the outer skin. Subtler vibrations of the inner body. Just remember standing, standing. First stage in mindfulness meditation, vipassana meditation, learning how to get the mind grounded and centered in the body, which is considered the doorway for reaching the mind. Okay, so go ahead and come back to our seats. Get ready for the sitting awareness. I'm going to turn my video off as normally, so you keep your attention focused within your own body and mind. And just try to sit straight. Once you place your hands either on your legs or one on top of the other in your lap, and try not to move them. Just gently close the eyes. If you're sitting in a chair, to keep the feet flat on the floor. And first of all, just focus your attention where your buttocks press the seat. Just feel that solid contact of the buttocks to the seat. See if you can notice each buttock, some sensation, contact point of each buttock, the sitting bones. And just remember that you're sitting. And then slowly move your attention down your legs, your upper legs, to the knees, going over the knee, down into the lower leg, into the feet. Feel first the heel of the foot, and then the arches, and down to the toes, or just kind of feel the whole foot together. Start to feel the sensations on the feet, where the clothing, the socks rub against the skin of the feet. And try to feel the subtle pulsation of blood in the feet, or any other sensations. Might feel the outline of your toes. Kind of feel one foot at a time, or both of them at the same time. Now move the attention upwards to feel your hands and fingers, where they touch your legs, or where they touch together. See if you can notice the outline of your thumbs or fingers, where they touch each other. So many little different sensations there in the hand. Just keep letting go of your thoughts. If any thoughts trying to intervene, just keep reminding yourself the body parts. Okay, now feel the arms hanging from the shoulders. Relax the shoulders. Feel where the clothing touches the skin of the shoulders, upper arm. So just remember that you're sitting. sitting body, here and now. And now move the attention up to your, feel the head balanced on top of the neck. And especially kind of just to try to feel your face, the forehead and nose and chin on the face, skin stretched over the front of the skull. Feel any sensations on the face, the prickling sensation, or tightness. Now feel your lips touching together. The upper lip touches the lower lip. Feel any dryness or moistness in the lip. It's kind of almost like you were looking at your face in a mirror, but not as a visual image, as sensation. And try to feel the tongue and the teeth and the gums inside the mouth. Many different little sensations. The teeth touching together, the saliva and the bottom of the mouth. And move the attention up to feel the nose right there in the middle of the face, big nose, the bridge of the nose. And take a few deep, slow breaths. Try to feel the air moving through the nostrils. You breathe deep enough, you might also hear the sound of the air moving through the nostrils and the lungs. Hold the air in 1 second and slowly breathe out. Try to feel any little subtle sensations inside the nostril, prickling sensation. You might feel a cool or warm sensation. Or if your nose is stuffed up, just feel that sensation. It's the present moment awareness, centered in the body. And now feel your eyes in the socket, and the eyelids stretched over the eyeball. You might see some color or light or some image. You might feel some eye movement. Or the subtle pulse of blood in the capillaries of the eyes or eyelids. Sort of like inward gazing at the eyeballs. That detached awareness. You just know that you're sitting. Now see if you can feel your ears, the outer ears. See if you can detect a subtle kind of magnetized sensation around the ear. Or if your hair touches the ear. And try to feel the inner ear canal. If you listen very closely, you might hear some very subtle vibration, inner sound, the sound of the ocean, or the sound of high-pitched electric current. Being the brain wave activity, electromagnetic vibration. You just remember sitting. From that point, try to feel the outline of the sitting body. Feeling the body grounded to the floor, buttocks and feet underneath. The arms and hands at the sides or in the middle, and the head balanced on top. Just all those different body sensations giving rise to the perception of a sitting body. Dependent on sensations arises feeling and perception, and then thoughts about it. So each time you notice a body part, and call it my feet or my hands or my breathing or my head, these are perceptions arising because of the sensations and memory. You now begin some deep, slow breathing again to re-energize the bloodstream, oxygenated blood to help stay grounded in the body. You just try to take 2 or 3 seconds to breathe in, expanding the lungs. Bringing the air into the upper chest, holding the air in for 2 seconds, and slowly breathing out like we were doing in the yoga. And just cultivate this basic mindfulness. And breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now, breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now try to continue this deep, slow breathing while counting your breaths from 1 to 10. Try to stay more focused. So with the next expanding in breath, mentally count 1. Feel that short pause with the contracting out breath. So count to 1. The next incoming breath, 2. The out breath, 2. In breath, 3. Out breath, 3. In breath, 4. Out breath, 4. In breath, 5. Out breath, 5. In breath, 6. Out breath, 6. In breath, 7. Out breath, 7. In breath, 8. Out breath, 8. In breath, 9. Out breath, 9. In breath, 10. Out breath, 10. Now discontinue the counting, discontinue the control of deeper breathings, letting the breathing return to its uncontrolled rhythm, but continue to feel it, Keep your attention focused there in the center of the body, feeling the residual expanding and contracting sensations where the clothing rubs against the skin, abdomen, stomach, chest. Just feel those little friction sensations, clothing against the skin. And just mentally remember breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting, just keeping the attention focused in the center of the body, developing a concentrated awareness, remembering the present moment, breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting, here and now, breath by breath. Just feeling the whole in-breathing body, the 4 cycles of the breathing body, expanding in breath and the brief pause, the contracting out breath and the brief pause. It's called 1 cycle of breathing. The whole breath body. Just breathing in the pause, breathing out the pause. The pause may be very short, even just a fraction of a second. It's important to try to notice that. Be a very sharp awareness. Just breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting. So in those brief pauses between the breaths, feel the outline of the sitting body. And try to feel how each breath is different. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's shorter. Sometimes the in-breath is longer than the out-breath, or the out-breath longer than the in-breath. It's always changing. Just like a scientist sitting in the laboratory looking down the microscope. Just looking down the microscope of focused awareness, the center of the body. Feel those life force vibrations, the breathing process, the expanding in-breath and the pause, contracting out-breath in the pause. Many different little sensations you can notice. Just turn up the power of the mental microscope. At the same time, be alert for any of the hindrances arising, especially thoughts trying to steal your attention away. You get caught up in thinking, recognize it, thinking. Gently let go of the thought. Just keep coming back to the breathing process. Recenter the body. Just breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. Breath by breath, moment by moment. Try to feel this breathing process, within the larger breathing body. It's called feeling the body in the body. Cycle of breathing going on within the larger sitting body. If you can, kind of just try to feel that you're observing this breathing body, kind of from a point behind you. Ascending the palace of awareness. Cultivate detached, onlooking awareness. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. Just gradually being aware of more and subtler details, sensations. In the breathing process, or other sensations that are coming and going in and through the larger body, around the breathing. Be alert if the mind gets drowsy. Wake it up, check the posture, straighten up the spine, lift the chin up level to the floor. From time to time, take a few deep, slow breaths to help stay awake, alert. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. It's the ongoing, continuous, present moment of this breathing body. The mind operates through the breathing body with its nervous system. This body is the doorway for being able to more clearly see our thoughts, sensation, perception. If your mind is calm and focused enough, and kind of just gradually open up to the flow of impermanence. To notice how quickly the different sensations come and go. Sensations of the breathing come and go. But other sensations also come and go. Sensations of the clothing touching the skin, the itching, prickling sensations, pulsations, aches or pain. These are all occurring right within this breathing body under the lens of focused awareness. Try to understand this body and mind as being the five aggregate process. The material body, the sensations, the physical sensations, the pleasant or painful sensations arising, the feeling, the perceptions, mental activity of identifying object. That's my foot, that's my hand, that's my breathing, that's my eyes. These are perceptions. And then the thoughts connected with them, the sankharas, or the likes or dislikes, or agitation, wanting to move. These all just happen by themselves. And even the sense of the consciousness, the observing consciousness, with the thought of I, me, or mine. All these five aggregates make up our body-mind process. Just moment by moment. breath by breath, sense stimulation by sense stimulation, vibration, feeling, perception, volition, thought. It's gradually ascending the palace of wisdom to see how the mind gets caught up in all of its habits, reactions. How you identify it with it causing agitation, distress. Just observing it as you would watch a movie. Kind of just watch the movie of the body-mind process. Sitting, breathing, thinking, pleasant feelings, painful feelings, urges. Confusion, memory. It's all just happening under its own power. The power of accumulated karma. If you have a good detached, onlooking awareness, just try to feel the body and mind as being like an empty house. With so many things going out through the doors and windows, but nobody's home. But there's a sensitive microphone or seeing eye camera in the house that knows but doesn't know, cannot do anything. Just the present moment, impersonal awareness. Just let the subtle remaining idea of I, me, or mine, just let it fade away into the background. What perception arises dependent on the sound. Sambe sankhara anicchati. Sambe sankhara dukkati. Sambe dhamma anattati. Yada panyaya pasati. Atanabindati dukhi. Esamaggu visuddhiya. All conditioned things, the five aggregates of this body, mind, and world are impermanent. And all impermanent things bring stress and suffering if tightly clung to with ignorance. And all the Dhammas, these conditioned Dhammas, as well as the unconditioned, deathless state, are without any inherent owner or controller. They are not self. When one understands these three characteristics with the eye of wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with suffering. This is the path to purity, to freedom. And thus spoke the Buddha. And now let's take a few deep, slow breaths and bring the awareness back into the body. With each out breath, just thinking, may all beings be well, peaceful, and wise. May all beings be able to hear the Dhamma and practice meditation to free their minds from confusion and suffering. May all beings have the patience, strength, mindfulness, and wisdom to meet and overcome all difficulties in life. May all beings be able to live peacefully and harmoniously together, understanding the three characteristics of impermanence, suffering, and no self. May all beings be well, peaceful, and wise. And now to finish the meditation, I invite you to join in chanting the word sadhu 3 times with the breathing. You can place your hands together at the chest if you like. Take a deep breath. Sadhu. Now place your hands at the edge of your knees. Take one more deep breath. You breathe in, stretch the head back and pull your hands against the knees to arch your lower back. Hold it a few moments. Feel the sensation. And then lift the head up on an in breath and press the chin to the top of the chest on the out breath. And lift the chin up level on an in breath. And relax. Okay, friends. So hope that you're all able to get some moments of quiet during that meditation, or some insights, and I'm happy you could all come and participate in today's program. And as this Christmas holiday period, gets into momentum. Of course, there's two things going on. One is, of course, the suffering, continuing problems and difficulties associated with the pandemic. But here in America, they say that because of that, people are getting more in the Christmas spirit. So they're selling more Christmas trees and more Christmas ornaments, and people are trying to at least maybe get some of their thoughts off of whatever problems have come with the pandemic, and hopefully try to keep their minds a little bit lifted up. But who knows? But the meditation. What's that echo there, Prashant? Anyway, meditation is the best way to keep our mind lifted up. So I'm happy to see some old friends with us, Fabiana down in Portugal, Artur in Brazil, and some other people, Nisanka and Tisarana Forest Hermitage doing a retreat, and all you others. So anyway, I wish you all the best, and during this week, just remember to take your M&Ms, do your M&Ms as often as possible, 1 minute meditations. Read some suttas, Dhammapada verses, something to, whenever your mind gets caught up in some negative states, try to pick up some Dhammapada verses. That's always a good way to kind of lift the awareness up.
Thank you, Bhante.
All right, friends.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
All the best to all of you.
Thank you, Bhante.
And Namo Buddhaya.
Muito obrigado.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Kalt dort.